Lindsay was a carefree girl. She was popular, respected, loved, everything a high school senior could hope for. Going to college and leaving all that behind made her a little anxious, but she had enough confidence in herself to know she would be all right. Freshmen at the university were required to live on campus. Even though Lindsay had responsibly saved her earnings from waitressing in high school, she would have to spend the first year of her college experience in the old dormitory on the edge of campus. It was a daunting brick building constructed in the mid-19th century. It bore the marks and wear of decades of abuse from newly liberated young people. Although it was located on a dry campus, the building oozed the stale smell of old beer and weed. The first time Lindsay visited her new room, she would nearly frightened herself to death. She was closing the door behind her, and she thought she saw something move in the shadow behind the door. It was just a slight shift in the corner of her eye. Of course, there was nothing there. She placed her polished fingernails over her runaway heart and laughed it off. Always one to talk about the power of the mind, Lindsay made the conscious choice not to let her living conditions get her down. There was one bright side, too. Her slated roommate made the last-minute decision to transfer just a day before Lindsay arrived at the dorm. Although the room was small, she would have it to herself. Closing her door as she turned in for bed became the bane of Lindsay's daily routine. Every time she would swing the old wooden thing away from the wall, her instincts would spike, and she could swear something always moved just outside of her vision. You might think she would be ready for it, but after the long days of classes and trying to make friends, she didn't put much thought into such a mundane thing as shutting the door. One evening, while laying in bed and staring at the door, Lindsay noticed a hook screwed into the back of it. An idea took hold. She removed the tie-dyed sheet from her bed, the comforter would have to do on its own, and dragged it across the floor. She wrapped one corner over the hook, then after retrieving a small pair of scissors and a pen from her backpack, she cut a slit in the opposite corner. She stood on a chair holding the slit corner and stabbed the scissors into the drywall near the ceiling. In the final step, she pushed the pen into the new hole and hung the sheet from it. Now the corner behind the door was hidden away. Anytime she closed that door, the sheet would cover whatever trick of the light or random shadow that was scaring her every night. She slept peacefully. When Lindsay woke the next morning, she saw the sheet had slipped off the hook in the middle of the night. No matter. Before she left for her class, she cut another slit and hung that over the hook. It was much more secure. She left for class and forgot all about it. At the end of the day, Lindsay returned to her dorm, closed the door, and smiled as the sheet spread across the corner and hid it behind yellows, reds, and blues. She tossed herself onto the bed, put on her headphones, and lost herself in music. She didn't notice the pen holding the sheet was hanging at a crooked angle, just barely held by the hole she created. She was staring up at the ceiling when the pen finally fell, taking the colorful sheet with it. She saw the sheet go down in the corner of her eye and sat up. It seemed to fall in slow motion, gradually revealing what stood behind. Lindsay watched as the dark form appeared in the corner. His head and shoulders leaned forward as the sheet was still falling, and the shadowy man leered at her. When the colors dropped below him, his hand shot up. Once it was at his feet, he stepped over the collapsed bedsheet. He moved forward aggressively, causing Lindsay to scream, but he vanished as he entered the light from her bedside lamp. All the other rooms were full, so Lindsay's request for a new one was denied. She had to drop out and move back home while she applied to another university. Even in the comfort of her childhood bedroom, she felt the stranger's presence. She felt him watching her from the corner behind the door. Lindsay was a carefree girl no more.